Welcome. Thank you for joining me today. Today's topic, our meditation topic, is on embracing compassion, particularly self-compassion. And this comes up a lot with my clients, and it's no wonder. I mean, we have such a difficult time being kind to ourselves, right? We're kind to everybody else, well, most people, but we find it a little bit easier to be kind to others, to go out of our way for others, to be understanding, to be empathetic, to really boost up our friends, let them know it's okay, to give them a hug. And then when it comes to us, sometimes we're our worst critic and we could be really, really hard on ourselves. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And what I found very interesting is when I asked some of my students or my clients, why do you want to learn how to be more self-compassionate? What comes up for you? There was a whole variety of things that came up for people. Sometimes it was, really trying to let go of the past, carrying on guilt for years, for decades, not being able to move forward. Sometimes people just felt really unhappy with themselves, or they're really struggling with an area of their life, whether it's caring for their kids, their parents, just the day-to-day struggles that a lot of us have to endure, and not being able to find a way out of that. And this is all where self-compassion can be very helpful. However, there's also, when it comes to meditation, another form that could help us to embrace compassion even more, because actually it's our true nature. So we're going to be doing some practice around that as well. Let's just begin now by just settling in for a few minutes with just a short practice, really trying to let go of whatever's going through our mind right now and become more present in this moment. So you can begin by just feeling comfortable wherever you are. You don't have to sit a certain way or be in a certain posture. Just close your eyes or keep a soft gaze. And begin by taking in a nice, deeper, focused breath. And let's take another one, and this time really feel that breath flowing in through the body and then flowing out again. And wherever you are, if you're sitting or lying down, standing, just feel your body there. Become familiar with the position of your feet and your hands. Feel your body being supported, whether it's in a chair or on the floor, a couch. Just allow your body to be supported here. And then for a minute or so, get a little bit more in touch with the body and the breath. Once again, bringing that attention to the full inhale and the full exhale, feeling it enter and leave the body, breath by breath. And then when you're ready, you could begin to open your eyes, coming back to our group. And so I'd like to just do some short readings from a few authors. And one of them, this is a great book if you're interested. It's actually called Self-Compassion by one of the leaders in the field with regards to mindfulness, called Kristen Neff. All right, and she really offers a lot on this topic. So I just would like to read a few things, and we'll just see if this resonates with you at all. And this is a chapter called Feeling It All, because what I notice, and my clients tend to notice, is that when we're feeling uncomfortable, where things get tough, we really don't want to feel it. We really don't want to experience it. It doesn't feel pleasant. We don't like it. And a lot of times we think we're being really strong if we push ourselves through it. So we kind of let it go, push it off to the side a little bit, and just carry on with what we have to do. And how does that work for you? Does it go away? Probably not, right? Does it lessen in how it feels? Probably not. It usually builds. So part of self-compassion is actually really, I like to use the word honoring. Really honoring how we're feeling. Honoring what's here for us now. So she says self-compassion helps lessen the hold of negative emotions, but it's important to remember that self-compassion does not push negative emotions away in an aversive manner either. This point is often confusing because conventional wisdom tells us that we should accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative. The problem, however, is that if you try to eliminate the negative, it's only going to backfire. Mental or emotional resistance to pain merely exacerbates suffering. Our subconscious registers any attempt at avoidance. Anybody practice avoidance? Or suppression, so that what we're trying to avoid ends up being amplified. I think most of us can relate to this and say, yep, that's true for me. Psychologists have conducted a great deal of research on our ability to consciously suppress unwanted thoughts and emotions. Their findings are clear. We have no such ability. Paradoxically, any attempt to consciously suppress unwanted thoughts and emotions appears to only make them stronger. Research shows that people with higher levels of self-compassion are significantly less likely to suppress unwanted thoughts and emotions than those who lack self-compassion. They're more willing to experience their difficult feelings and to acknowledge that their emotions are valid and important. This is because of the safety provided by self-compassion. I like that she uses the word safety. As we get used to this and giving ourselves more self-compassion, it feels more safe. It feels more comforting to us. It's not scary to confront emotional pain when you know that you will be supported throughout the process, just as it feels easier to open up to a close friend whom you can rely on to be caring and understanding. It's easier to open up to yourself when you can trust that your pain will be held in compassionate awareness. The beauty of self-compassion is that instead of replacing negative feelings with positive ones, new positive emotions are generated by embracing the negative ones. The positive emotions of care and connectedness are felt alongside our painful feelings. When we have compassion for ourselves, sunshine and shadow are both experienced simultaneously. And sometimes when we learn, we might learn this in meditation or mindfulness, there's a way where we learn that we can embrace both joy and sorrow. So this is what she's talking about here. This is important, ensuring that the fuel of resistance isn't added to the fire of negativity. It also allows us to celebrate the entire range of human experience so that we can become whole. We are healed from suffering only by experiencing it to the full. So she has a little practice here. It's like a little mantra. And in some of the classes I've held, we've created our own mantras. So I encourage you to do this too. It's pretty simple. So I'm going to go over her mantra. We're going to do like a little tiny practice with it, a little meditation practice. And then if you like, you could go back and create your own mantra. So she says, I had developed this practice years earlier to help myself remember to be self-compassionate. And I still use it constantly. It's a sort of self-compassion mantra, and it's highly effective for dealing with negative emotions. Whenever I notice something about myself I don't like, or whenever something goes wrong in life, I silently repeat the following phrases. This is a moment of suffering. Suffering is part of life. May I be kind to myself in this moment. May I give myself the compassion I need. And there's a way to practice this where we can really, feel it or embody it with this open-hearted awareness. So she says, I find these phrases particularly useful, not only because they're short and easily memorized, but because they invoke all three aspects of self-compassion simultaneously. The first phrase, this is a moment of suffering, is important because it brings mindfulness to the fact that you're in pain. Okay, so it's kind of honoring, like I said again, what we're experiencing right now. Like, yes, I hurt right now. This is really difficult for me. I'm having, a tough time. I'm having a tough day. Like, life just feels really difficult for me. If you're upset because you've noticed, she gives different things, it's often hard to remember that these are moments of suffering worthy of compassion. The second phrase, suffering is part of life, reminds you that imperfection is part of the shared human condition. Okay, we all go through this. A lot of times we just don't realize it. Everybody's posting happy things on Facebook. So it doesn't look like anybody's having any suffering in their life, but in fact, it is part of the human condition. And most of the people that I'm sure you know are going through their own difficult times in one way or the other. The third phrase, may be kind to myself in this moment, helps bring a sense of caring concern to your present experience. Your heart starts to soften when you soothe and comfort yourself for the pain you're going through. And the final phrase, may I give myself the compassion I need, firmly sets your intention to be compassionate and reminds you that you are worthy of receiving compassionate care. So let's do a little practice together, okay? So once again, closing your eyes, feeling comfortable, and just taking in a nice deeper breath. And once again, taking in a deeper breath, feeling that breath flow in the body, just allowing the body to settle in, relax, feel supported. And maybe releasing any tension. So any tension you have in your face, jaw, neck, and shoulders, allow them to be loose and relaxed. Arms and hands. And feeling into your torso as well. A lot of times we notice constriction there. Just allow that whole heart space to feel more open. Allow the breath to flow freely. Softening the belly muscles. And softening any tension in the legs, the feet, the toes. So just feeling and experiencing your body as a whole. Breathing in, breathing out. Let's just stay with the breath for a few moments. And just noticing in your body if there's any areas of constriction. A lot of times that's where we contract around emotions that don't feel so comfortable for us. So you might notice an area in your body. There seems to be a little more energy. You could bring your attention to that area or just be with your body as a whole. And just honoring whatever's here for you. So if it's something that feels a little difficult right now, let's try this first phrase. This is a moment of suffering. And again, remembering that this moment of suffering is worthy of compassion. And we're just honoring and acknowledging it. The second phrase, suffering is part of life. It is a human condition we all share. You're not alone. And the third phrase, may I be kind to myself in this moment. Just allowing your heart to open and just bringing yourself some comfort. So again, just acknowledging, yes, this is a tough time you're going through. May I be kind to myself in this moment. And even if it's hard, just having that intention. May I be kind to myself in this moment. And then the final phrase, may I give myself the compassion I need. Reminding yourself that you're worthy of receiving compassionate care. May I give myself the compassion I need. Just sitting with that for a few moments. Just noticing if there's been a shift at all. Sometimes I like to even put my hand on my heart or my belly or somewhere in my body. And when you're ready, you could open your eyes. So that could be, very helpful. Just to remind ourselves to give ourselves self-compassion, to come up with a little mantra that works for you and to say it regularly, right? Before you go to bed, before you get out of bed in the morning, throughout the day when times are feeling a little tough. And then she has another section here on open-heartedness, which I find to be extremely, extremely helpful, even as an approach with meditation or mindfulness, to really embrace this open-heartedness with it. So she says here, when we give ourselves compassion, we are opening our hearts in a way that transforms our lives. What does it mean to be open-hearted? It's a phrase we use all the time, but what does it actually mean? Open-heartedness is a state of emotional receptivity in which even unpleasant or negative experiences are held with caring concern. When we kiss the boo-boo on a child's hurt finger, or listen empathetically to a dear friend telling us their woes, when we feel compassion. In other words, we experience an inner warmth spreading out from the center of our chest. This feeling is what lets us know that our hearts are open. And how does it feel to have an open heart? Pretty damn good, she says. When compassion is flowing through our veins, we feel at our vibrant best, connected, alive, plugged in. When we unlock our hearts, new experiences are free to emerge, experiences of love, courage, and unlimited possibility. When our hearts are closed, however, we remain unmoved by life's sorrows. And as we shut out the pain, we also shut ourselves down. Our fear of being overwhelmed by negative emotions leads us to tune out so that we feel only constriction in the center of our chest. And that's why I said sometimes, check in with your body first. Is there constriction? Is there some area of energy? Maybe even put your hand there as you do your compassion mantras. The price paid for protecting our hearts is to cut off our very lifeblood. We feel cold, empty, unhappy, deeply unsatisfied. And the time when our hearts are most likely to close is when our pain is caused by negative self-judgment, when we feel we aren't good enough in some way. Instead of just feeling sadness, we now feel both sadness and the sweet tenderness of concern for a wound that needs healing. Instead of just feeling frightened, we now feel both frightened and comforted by our own kindness and caring. By relating to ourselves with compassion, we're holding our negative emotions in the warm embrace of good feeling. This means that hidden within every moment of anguish lies the potential for contentment. Pain can become the doorway to happiness, because feeling loved, cared for, and connected is what makes us truly happy. So I'd like you to experiment with that. I think it could be very helpful. Now, as I said in the beginning of this video, sometimes people have a hard time letting go of past actions, things that have happened in the past, and they feel this enormous guilt and can't let it go. And that is a very complex topic, which we could spend a lot of time on. But what I notice happening a lot with people is they're still caught up in this story, this old story, and it's always there. Sometimes it's very strong, and it can really keep us stuck. And we could build even a bigger story around it. A lot of times what I notice when I'm coaching people as well is we can often get stuck in what's referred to as limiting beliefs. These beliefs we have, belief we're a bad person, belief we're never going to be regarded as being a good person, or we don't deserve a certain life because of past actions or not living up to the standards that we have or that society has for us. So again, it could get very complex. And, guilt is a form of self-hatred, whereas remorse is very different. Remorse is acknowledging, gosh, I was awful. I wish I hadn't said that. I wish I didn't do that. And then moving on from there. And the way we move on is just acknowledging, if you're feeling guilty or if you're feeling bad about past actions, that means you have learned from them. You have grown. You're wiser, right? Your heart's open more. You are more compassionate. And you would not make that same decision now. So we all go through that. Of course, we're going to feel terrible about it. And there's a way we can just, forgive ourselves for that and send some loving kindness to whatever that event was. Just sending loving kindness, sending whatever these phrases you want to send. Offering, some forgiveness for whatever happened, some apology, wishing well for that person or that whole event. And just kind of liberating yourself from it. But again, a lot of times, it's just like we learn with mindfulness that we get caught in the thoughts, which create an emotion, which create body sensations, and then it spins around and around and around and around. And when that's happening, we're not living in the present moment, but we're holding on to this strong emotion, and that causes a lot of other issues for us as well. So I was reading this book, because anybody that knows me knows I read all the time. I love to read. And there's a spiritual master called Ramtha. And somebody referred to the book, so I was reading it. And she has this one section. Let me see if I can find it here, where she was actually talking about letting go of the past. And I was like, wow, this really resonates with a lot of the things that come up for people. So she says here, no one is ruled by the past. Whatsoever you did a moment ago or a millennium ago, you do not have to pay for any time. The very moment you did it, you gained understanding and realized the purposeful good from doing it. The past was simply a now moment that was experienced and is no more. The only bearing it has on the present is that you already learned all you could learn from it. Thus it has provided you the wisdom to create this moment to the grandest of your ability, according to your own intimate thought processes and purposeful designs. The past is finished. It is no more. The past lives within you in this now only as wisdom. That is what it has gained you. That is why in this now you are the greatest you have ever been in all your lives. For in this now you have progressed into knowingness further than your yester now. You are this moment the cumulative whole of all of your knowledge. Knowledge gained through experience, and experience gained through the virtue called life. And every moment you express, you are creating a new adventure into emotion and the pearls of experience called wisdom. There is only the isness of this now. And isness is a term a lot of meditation masters use. It's like this pervasive awareness that's in everything. So there is only the isness of this now. What is important is now. You are the product of now. Your life is lived in the now. Your future is created in the now. To truly live as an isness in this now is to live without laws and rules and regulations that inhibit the expression and expansion of self. And see, sometimes these rules and regulations are our own rules and regulations, right? And that's, again, could be some of these limiting beliefs that hold us back. When you live as an isness, the only thing that ever matters is now. Not the past, not the future, but now. For that is precisely where God lives. So maybe if you don't believe in God, maybe it's just source, your higher self, your intuitive self, whatever you like to refer to it as, awake awareness. When you realize that now is all there ever is, you will inevitably choose to live your life in such a way that in each moment you live the adventure that the feelings in your soul urge you to pursue, that you are experiencing whatever you have never experienced before in order to expand yourself into even greater wisdom. That's just beautiful. And again, this is where, sometimes a really great meditation or mindfulness teacher can help, a great coach, someone who's a great mindfulness teacher and a great coach, right? But I'd like to, take this a step further, where we can include the compassion with some mindfulness practice, but even bringing it into this greater isness, as she said, or this awake awareness. And I want to pull up a slide I have now. So if any of you have taken any classes with me, you have seen that I do these PowerPoint slides and talk about them from time to time. So let me see if I can pull my screen up. All right, and I'm going to take this as the back slide. Hold on. Okay. All right, here we go. So when we talk about mindfulness sometime, way I have described it in the past is that, and describe the mindfulness, of course, but the way I visually have shown it is with a little slide like this, where we're actually observing. Sometimes in mindfulness it's referred to as the observer or the witness, what's happening. So we begin to create some space. Instead of getting caught up in our thought or our emotion, we're starting to observe it. So we can notice the thoughts that are coming by, a billion thoughts a day, coming and going, the thought that we're having. We create some space. We could notice the emotion we're experiencing, but we're noticing this from the observer point or the witnessing point. We notice the body sensations. There's a little space there. And this is what helps us learn how to respond rather than be so reactive all day long. That's where mindfulness can really help us. We create a little space, we observe what's happening externally, internally, and then we make a decision from there, right? And this is what we use, as the mindfulness circle. It's this now space. All right, so we're in the now, and we use this a lot to describe something happening, a stressful event, something happening. Somebody said something to us that really hurt our feelings. And if we're in that now space where we could observe it rather than reacting, we have a little space, we're observing what's happening. Externally with what somebody said, internally with us, we can learn to respond. Okay, so it's called the mindfulness circle. And when, sometimes we describe this, we describe the now as us, the observer. We're the observer, we're the witness. We're observing. We're not our thoughts, we're not our emotions, we're observing them happen. What we learn as we develop our mindfulness practice, meditation practice, or there's a different form of meditation, which is like a non-dual, which means more of oneness type meditation practice, which I love, is that there's even a greater space than this observer witness that I refer to as the now. Okay, there's a greater space. And I have a heart here because when we could come more into that space, it is very compassionate. It is very loving. It is very peaceful. You could even say there's this feeling of happiness. Okay, and it's nothing that we get externally. It's actually our true nature. And sometimes this is referred to as awake awareness, the heart line space, many other things, isness. Okay, so even from this space, we can almost observe the observer. All right, so when we're doing our practice, it helps just to relax into this space more. And we could notice, oh my gosh, compassion's already here. That's really who I am. This love, this compassion. That's this whole awake awareness space that's so expansive. That's why I have the little lines coming out. It's very expansive. All right, so this is where sometimes the meditation can help us quite a bit. So let's do a little practice here with everything we learned today, which was a lot, on how to embrace compassion. So let's settle into our meditation posture. And again, just be in a very relaxed posture. You don't have to be so erect and tight about it. Let's just be very relaxed, but awake. Okay, we do want to be awake, so don't be too relaxed. But very comfortable. And begin by once again taking in a deep, deep breath. Releasing. Feeling your body being supported. And just noticing if you're holding any tightness or tension, allowing that to soften. The head, the face, the jaw, neck and shoulders, the arms, hands, and fingers. Opening up that heart space and torso, softening the belly muscles, feeling into the pelvis, the hips, the legs, the feet, the toes. As you breathe in and breathe out, having an awareness of your body as a whole. And just feeling yourself breathing here. Feeling the aliveness within you. And bringing yourself some compassion right now, maybe putting your hand on your heart or your belly. And just offering yourself some compassion or some loving kindness. It's acknowledging you're doing the best you can. Acknowledging how you're feeling right now. Knowing that it's okay. This is what I'm experiencing right now. And then just allowing anything that's here to be here. Sometimes I use the word surrender. So if you're having a lot of thoughts, it's okay. Just surrender to them. Surrender to what you're feeling and experiencing. Be compassionate with whatever it is. And then just begin to expand this awareness. A lot of times, listening to sounds can be helpful. So perhaps expanding now to include sounds. And then just see if you could notice, whether it's thoughts or sounds or emotions, who or what do these appear to? And this gets us more into that observer state, where we're just noticing the thoughts or the emotions or the sounds without really getting that caught up in them. Who or what is noticing? And you might even notice that with this noticing, it's really like awareness. There's just a general awareness, aware of everything, aware of the thoughts, aware of the sounds, aware of things happening in the body. And it might feel like there's a little bit of space there where you notice things happening, but you're not so caught up in it. And if you do feel caught up in it, that's fine too. So just see if you can. Sometimes I feel like I'm coming backward a little bit into this space of awareness. And keep the body relaxed and open. Keep that heart space open. And then, as you're, of course, probably getting caught up in thoughts from time to time, that's okay. We're surrendering, right? Just noticing. But see if in this space of awareness, in this observer space, you can allow that to expand even more into this open-hearted, compassionate, loving space that's really expanded. So you might even imagine this space being bigger than your body, outside, on all sides of your body, in front of you, back of you, on each side, above you, below you. So just see if you could, just for fun, rest more in this expanded, open-hearted, compassionate, loving awareness space. There's nothing you need to create or become. There's nothing you need to figure out. There's nothing you need to know. There's nothing you need to take care of or solve. Just resting in awareness. And then from this space, as our practice begins to come to a close, you may want to offer yourself and all beings loving kindness. May I and all beings be happy and peaceful. May I and all beings be safe and protected. May I and all beings be healthy and strong. May I and all beings have ease of living and well-being. May I and all beings be more open to the joys of everyday living, noticing the beauty that surrounds us. And may I and all beings be filled with loving kindness and compassion. And just feeling this loving kindness and compassion for yourself now, for all the people in our group, for all the people you know, your loved ones, and people in your neighborhood, the world. And just opening your eyes if they're not open. And giving some gratitude for just today, for this now moment, for yourself, for each other. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you found this video helpful. You can always contact me if you like at MariaFanelli.com. And thank you again, once again, for being here. I'm sending you all loving kindness and compassion. Take care. Thank you.